starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing story time with Mr. Lamada. He will be starting soon. Oh, story time with Mr. Lamada, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't leave lonely, won't you start all the reading? I just can't wait to be hearing.
Good morning and welcome to Story Time. Thank you for joining me. Happy Friday to you and yours. Thank you so much for being here on Story Time, and welcome. I hope you had a lovely week. I hope you've enjoyed the stories that we've read so far together, and of course the great guests that we've had on our show. Thank you so much for being here, and I am glad that we're here together and today to be reading this amazing book, 30,000 Stitches, the inspiring story of the National 9/11 flag. Yes, this one is written by Amanda Davis and illustrated by WERN COMPORT. And of course, we're reading this one with permission of Worthy Kids. Thank you so much for joining me on Storytime today, and welcome. I'm so glad that you're here today to join me and enjoy this wonderful story that we have for you. Thank you for being here, and of course, I always appreciate the time that we spend together. As always, let me know where you're joining us from and who is joining in with you today. Thank you for being here. A wonderful story awaits, and yes, we have a great one. Happy Friday to each and every one of you. Thank you so much for being here. Good morning to you, Amanda Wortman. How are you doing today? Good to see you. Baby Bia, how are you doing? Yes, missed you yesterday. Thank you so much for joining us today. I hope you're having a lovely time out in Seattle. You were on a trip, but home today in sunny Seattle. Well, thank you so much for being here. I hope you enjoyed that lovely trip that you had. Thank you for being here. Thank you. And I hope you're ready for this story today. Thank you for being here. Good morning to you. And yes, Amanda West. Yes, we have 3 Amandas at the moment right now. Amanda Wortman, Amanda West, and our very special guest will be joining us in a minute, Amanda Davis. Thank you so much for joining in. Amanda West, Sarah, and Nathan, how are you doing today out in sunny Illinois? Well, my Oakland is also sunny today, so we have lots of sunny places. Hopefully we're enjoying ourselves and yes, enjoying the time and ready for a good story. Good morning to you and welcome. Please join me in welcoming Amanda Davis back to Story Time. Thank you so much for joining in. Welcome to Story Time, Amanda. Good morning, Amanda. How are you doing today? Yes, it is definitely the show of the Amandas today. Oh, we can't hear you right now. Are we having that problem? It seems like you're on mute. Oh, I know. Well, we'll keep trying. We'll bring you back on and try again. All right. Well, we'll bring back Amanda to join us later on, and hopefully that this time the communication works. The technical difficulties are gone, but we'll keep trying. Thank you for joining us today. And we are going to be getting started with our story. And just one more time, thank you so much for joining us. Amanda West, Amanda Wortman, Baby Bia, how are you doing out in Seattle? Absolutely missed you. I'm glad you're here today. Amanda West, Sarah, and Nathan, how are you doing out in Illinois? And yes, indeed, good morning to you. Isabella, how are you doing? And Isabel, how are you doing together with Mateo and Leon? Aurelia Lee, good to see you back. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime with Andres and Cora and Nana from Pennsylvania. Well, I'm glad you're here, Nana. Thank you for joining us. And of course, Andres and Cora, welcome, welcome. Good to see you back. And out in El Salvador, Rocco, how are you doing? Rocco is working well. I'm glad you're still able to join us, and hopefully Rocco will join us next week. Thank you so much for joining in. Good morning to you, Doreen, out in sunny El Salvador. Lots of beautiful sunny places today, including sunny Chicago, where Ellen Edwards is joining us from today. Thank you so much for joining us on Storytime. I hope you're ready for this one, and hopefully we can get back Amanda Davis to talk a little bit more about the book later on. But right now, we're going to get ready and get into our reading. There you go, Amanda. Thanks for tuning in to hear 30,000 Stitches. Absolutely. And Amanda, I hope that we're able to get you back and our system works okay later on. Thank you so much for joining us. Good morning to you. Yes, Amanda Davis is our author. Good morning to you, Miss Ingrid, out in Patagonia, Argentina. Thank you for joining us. Good to see you. Yes, good to see you back on Storytime and loving what you're doing out there. Thank you so much for joining in. Oh my goodness, and Henry is back. How are you doing, Henry, in Massachusetts? Thank you for joining us. I know. I'm glad you're here today, Marietta. Thank you for joining in. And Henry, good to see you as well. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime. Happy Friday to you. All right, so we're going to be getting started with our story for today. And it is a beautiful one, a story of healing, a story of hope, and a story of togetherness. Yes. 30,000 Stitches, the inspiring story of the National 9/11 flag. And this one is written by Amanda Davis and illustrations by Sally WERN COMPORT. Good morning to you, and let's get ready. And of course, we're reading this one with permission of Worthy Kids. Let's get started. All right, get comfortable. Thank you so much for joining us. Oh, well, good morning to you, Nate. Good to see that you're with us. And of course, good morning to you, Olaolu, as well. Thank you for joining us. How are you doing? All right, 30,000 Stitches. Here we go. And so many beautiful illustrations in this book. I'll be taking a bit of time so you can enjoy them as well. And remember, too, that this is a live reading only today, but I hope that you can find time to find this book where you find books, your library, ask them at your school, and many other places. All right, 30,000 Stitches, the inspiring story of the National 9/11 flag. Written by Amanda Davis, who we met yesterday and a bit today, of course. Illustrated by Sally WERN COMPORT, and of course, read with permission and published by Worthy Kids. All right. And I just thought I should read the dedications as well here. Amanda says, "To my family, to those lost on 9/11, and to all those searching for light within the darkness." Absolutely. And Sally says, "To those that have lost a loved one and travel in the journey of healing, one stitch at a time." So powerful indeed. On September 11, 2001, New York City was attacked. 2 planes were flown into the World Trade Center. The Twin Towers collapsed, and thousands of people lost their lives. It was a tragic day in America's history. And even though I was not in America, I clearly remember where I was when this happened and all the news breaking out. Days later, high above the wreckage of the buildings, construction workers hung an American flag, 30 feet wide, 20 feet tall, blowing in the New York City wind at 90 West Street. The fabric of America remained. As the weeks passed, red, white, and blue turned to gray, torn, tattered, tired, hanging by a thread until one day it hung no longer. The flag was taken down and carefully stowed away. The fabric of America waited. 6 years later, in a town far away, disaster struck. A massive tornado destroyed the town of Greensburg, Kansas. A group of volunteers from New York City and surrounding areas offered to visit Greensburg and help the town rebuild. Before the visit, residents of Greensburg asked the volunteers to bring a memento from the World Trade Center to include in the memorial park they planned to build. Aged but not forgotten. Oh, the time had come. Aged but not forgotten. The flag was brought out of storage, rugged and torn, faded and gray. The fabric of America emerged. Once the flag arrived in Greensburg, a different plan unfolded. A group of citizens spotted the flag. Its dusty remnants glimmered with hope. They saw its strength and went to work. They repaired the flag from the World Trade Center with fragments from their own flags, tattered from the storm. Hand by hand, thread by thread, one stitch at a time, the flag was reborn. The fabric of America is strong. With the patchwork complete, a grand idea was born. The flag would travel each state to be fully restored. Back to 13 stripes, back to 50 stars. The fabric of America heals. And so the historic journey began. The flag traveled near and far. It came to California, where I am. From ballparks to beaches, from California to Maine. The flag touched many hearts and many hands. The hands of firefighters and soldiers, of teachers and students. The hands of mothers, fathers, brothers, and sisters, the hands of many different people, people like you and people like me. The flag lay within the heart of the nation's defense. It flew high in remembrance of a life filled with love. At each location, a new piece of fabric was added. A new stitch, a new story. In Hawaii, aboard the USS Missouri, stories of heroism were told as the World War II veterans placed stitches. In Georgia, at the King Center, stories of activism and the struggle for equality were shared as the family of Martin Luther King Jr. and Coretta Scott King placed stitches. In Florida, at Kennedy Space Center, stories of exploration and discovery were heard as members of America's space program placed stitches. And in New Mexico, near Navajo Nation, stories of survival and secret battle codes were shared as members of the Navajo Code Talkers placed stitches. The fabric of America unites. The flag wove its way across America, crisscrossing borders, cross-stitching lives. This is, I think, my favorite spread in this book. I just love it. The cross-stitching of crisscrossing borders, cross-stitching of lives. At long last, on September 11, 2011, 10 years after the Twin Towers collapsed, the flag made its last stop. In Joplin, Missouri, the hands of 1,067 tornado survivors placed stitches. Throughout the journey, stories of tragedy transformed into triumph, repairing scars, restoring faith, uniting people. 50 states, thousands of hands, and 30,000 stitches later, the flag returned home to New York City, 30 feet wide, 20 feet tall, full of hope, full of strength. The fabric of America endures, and you're part of it. The end. And there's more information about the flag, and this is where I hope that Amanda's audio will work this time so that she can tell us a little bit more about this part and just many other great things that are in this book, notes that she put for all of us to enjoy and learn from. And I just wanted to end here with this special spread at the end as well. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today. I hope you enjoyed that one. It is indeed a great book of hope and healing and showing how a nation can come together. And yes, even those people from New York suffered great tragedy, were right there, ground zero, and still went out with empathy and sympathy for all those others that were suffering. Like we know what happened in Kansas, and they went out to help tornado survivors there. So what are we doing to play our part in our nation? Thank you so much for joining us today. Let me try again to welcome Amanda Davis and see what else that she can add onto this wonderful book. Welcome back, Amanda.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes!
Oh, yay. I'm on my iPad, so we'll see. We'll see if this works.
Good. Yeah, no, I'm glad you came back, and we just finished reading this one, and wonderful book. And just, like your words, remember the good in humanity, change can happen, seek out the good stories and bring them to everybody. I think those just stuck with me from yesterday, and to try and focus on the positive. And I think this book just does just that.
Thank you, and thank you for the beautiful reading of it. Yeah, and bringing all of these amazing stories to us to focus on the positive. So thank you for doing that. It was lovely.
Yeah, awesome. So I know that the book has many more things to share, resources, or even just the stories of the people you met talking about this book.
Mm-hmm.
Like just the more about the flag piece, where it says on September 11, what happened. America was attacked. 4 planes that flew into the World Trade Center, and then you go on to describe all the different things, the different people that you met. Do you want to share a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah. In the back of the book,
let me just. There we go.
There we go. There's so many. I was really fortunate to be able to talk to several people who were involved in the flag's journey, and they gave me, including some of the photographers that went on the tour. So I had all of these really wonderful photos that were super helpful to me in my research, because one of the things when I decided I wanted to write this book was that I wanted to make sure everything was accurate and meaningful as well. And it was, I felt a lot of pressure to get things right, and especially with the weight of the topic. So yeah, we decided to include a lot of the real life pictures in the back of the back matter, so that you could actually see the comparison to what the flag looked like in real life versus Sally's wonderful illustrations in the book. So this is when it was torn and tattered. This is when it was originally patched back together in Greensburg. And then you saw the illustrations from, MLK Center. This one is from Fort Hood. This one's from when the Pearl Harbor aboard the USS Missouri. So you're seeing the Capitol building.
Yes.
So you're seeing the real photos from the timeline and the real people that were involved, because again, that's really what this story, one of the main things is what it's about, is the story of the people that were involved, and you see them stitching it and telling their stories, and each stitch, represents a person really in this flag, and their story and our collective as a humanity. So there's lots more information in the back about who stitched the flag, more about the flag's journey, and then it's returned to New York too. So right now It resides at the September 11th Memorial and Museum, and it's on rotation. So it's not always up at the museum because they also have to take care of it and restore it and in order to keep it preserved. So there's more about that here. And then the restoration process, because that for me was a little bit hard to grasp when I was writing the book, was like, how did this actually work? This is a giant and heavy flag.
Right.
30 feet wide, 20 feet tall, and I think it was about 40 to 50 pounds. So, you know, the people that were having to carry this around, who I got to talk to, they never left it alone either. So when they were going on a plane, they would not put it up in the cabin. They would have it on a seat right next to them. Or sometimes they would drive their motorhome to the different locations. So they would have it right in the motorhome. She said it was under their bed. So it was never left alone. So the people who were in charge of this tour had to figure out ways to bring this flag around the country, have it displayed at these ceremonies so that people could stitch it. So this really explains that whole process and all the different patches that were put into the flag from other retired flags from the different states.
And there's something that you mentioned on there too. I can't remember if I was reading it from that piece where it says like it had to go under special restoration to meet code or something like that.
Yeah. So United States Flag Code. Well, to back up just a little bit, when it was stitched in Greensburg by the members of Greensburg, it looked, you know, like this. It had other flags inside it because they used their own flags from the tornado. And because of that, it wasn't up to United States Flag Code, which says that the flag has to have the 50 stars and the 13 stripes. So they wanted to get it back up to code. So that was what they did. And then throughout the tour, they had to follow the code, which, for example, you know, something else I learned, like the flag can never touch the ground. What was the other one about being up on the wall? You have to have it backlit. So if they were put it on display, there has to be a light to backlight it. All of these different kind of rules of the flag, right?
Yeah, and I know that I've a good friend here is joining us, Olaolu Ogunyemi, Captain Olaolu Ogunyemi. So Olaolu, if you have any you know, like flag information that would like us to know, please do share as well. And you know, Amanda, it's great that the dog is also joining the party. I love it.
Yes. She's in here too. There she is. She got a little feature.
Yeah, and then you know, like just I think let's just see what people were saying out here. I know that we have Olaolu Ogunyemi who is saying, you know, like such a powerful. It says wow, that is a powerful, great story and excellent illustrations, and I couldn't agree more. And then of course Henry is also in Massachusetts with you. I saw that.
yes. Oh, I'm gonna mute myself.
No, you're good. Henry and Marietta, you know, joining us from Harvard, Massachusetts. So thank you for joining us. And then Catherine as well joining us and saying a book to read and reread always brings me tears in my eyes because it holds so much love and hope, you know. And just hearing what Catherine is saying brings me back to this page, you know, this spread, and I'm off camera right now, but this one, it brings me back to this. And you know, like just saying 50 states, thousands of hands, and 30,000 stitches later, the flag returned home to New York City, 30 feet wide, 20 feet tall, full of hope, full of strength. I love that page. And also just agreeing with you know, all the back matter that you are giving us, that Rona is talking about there too.
Yeah, thank you. That's one of my favorite pages as well. I feel like it really captures that that light and that hope. And Sally did a great job too. We had discussed as the images progress throughout the book, they start off a bit dull and a bit dark, and then as you go through the book, they gradually get lighter to emphasize that idea of hope and light at the end of the story.
Oh, so that's I didn't notice that part. Now I will pay attention as I go through it.
I like to call that I'm an art teacher. We talked about that yesterday. So I always talk about visual literacy, where we are thinking critically about the images in the book and what they mean. What story are the images telling as well?
Right.
Yeah. One last final fact that I haven't ever actually shared this, so your audience is getting a little, I guess, sneak peek into what one of the lines means in the story, because I don't know if a lot of people will know this, but this spread here, it says, "It flew high in remembrance of a life filled with love," and that is actually that is in memory of a little girl named Christina Green, who lost her life in a shooting in Tucson, Arizona. I don't know if people remember that. And she was actually born on 9/11, but dedicated her whole life to kind of 9/12 and like the good in the service and the kindness that came after. So I was so happy I could, pay tribute to her in some small way. Yeah. And so they rose the flag over her funeral.
Oh, wow.
And so that's what you're seeing here, the fire trucks that have the flag risen up over the church where Christina's funeral was held. So
yeah, we need a whole documentary on the making of the book.
Yes, I know. There's so much. Not enough time.
Yeah. Oh, no. Thank you, Amanda, for sharing that, and just, like giving us really that deeper understanding on the back of it. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah. And also, like finding out stories like the one you just shared, or, making those connections with the different stories. It's just it's really wonderful. And you mentioned focusing on that, you mentioned it when you talk about, focusing on 9/12, that, like, the good, the healing that comes after that, or, like the people that got into volunteering and doing all those things. So why is that important to you? Why is it important that we
remember that idea of, I think that's always been something that's important to me. And that's why I was drawn to this story. And that's how I strive to live my life too, is to help others and put myself in others' shoes, and be of service. So, because I think that's why we're here, really, like to connect with other people in this world and learn about other people and help other people. So, that was what really inspired me about this book and all the people involved, because I think that's something that is always good to remind ourselves of, no matter what time period we're in, or in something that will always be relevant. Yeah.
That's awesome. And like Amanda, like we were talking yesterday and talking about how this book will help, hopefully it helps bring conversations to families, conversations to people, and just reminders of things that you're talking about. And then I was looking at this from Marietta, your neighbor in Massachusetts, saying, like, amazing story. This was Henry's first time hearing about September 11th. And what a great way for him to learn about it. I remember where I was that day worrying about friends, family, and everyone else in New York City, and working and living. Beautiful illustrations, great layout, and like when Marietta says beautiful illustrations and great layout, she's a great illustrator, artist herself. So,
oh yay! I'll have to look up her work.
Yeah, no, beautiful work. But also just thinking about that, like it's the first time that Henry's hearing about this, and just how powerful that is, and the hope that like the work that you're doing to bring this information, to bring these conversations home. And if you don't mind, could you do us a favor of just reading that part more about the flag?
Sure.
Just so, like people who are listening out there, kids who might be listening in for the first time, can
the background.
Yeah, just get the background of what it was. Yeah,
of
what
course.
It is.
Yeah. So more about the flag. On September 11th, 2001, America was attacked. 4 planes were hijacked by terrorists and flown into the Twin Towers of the World Trade Center in New York City, the Pentagon near Washington, D.C., and also in a field in Pennsylvania. Altogether, nearly 3,000 people lost their lives. The strike in New York City caused the collapse of the Twin Towers, and the destruction left behind became known as Ground Zero. High above Ground Zero, construction workers placed a 30-foot American flag on the scaffolding at 90 West Street, a landmark building 1 block south of the South Tower. And that was what you're seeing in the image here. So yeah, that gives a little bit more if, parents or guardians or teachers want to dive a little bit more into what happened on that day. Hopefully that can help with that, and with those discussions.
Yeah. And Amanda, you had mentioned something. You'd said, like we're now talking to a generation in schools and as that were not there when this event happened, even though we were there, but just something that we have to keep reminding ourselves is this big moment that happened, and how communities came together like this. I really appreciate that, and appreciate you trying again, coming in here, helping us understand the book even more and giving us more meaning. Absolutely, because I don't think I would have understood, like, even like that page that you read, the dedication. I would not have, but to have that extra information on it, I appreciate that.
Yeah, no problem.
Aw.
But I'm so grateful to be here, and thank you again for sharing it. And like we just said, I hope it's a great resource for empowering parents, educators, and anyone really to talk about that day and talk about difficult, I like to say essential essential topics in our history and current day. So I hope that it provides that access and entry point for a lot of people, and for children especially too, and inspires them to help go out there into the communities, help one another, and be positive forces in our society.
Well, thank you so much for bringing like this big topic, important topic, and bringing it, I think, putting it even like as a piece of art, like something that we can look at and talk about, and like I think Catherine was saying, a book that we can read and reread. I appreciated that. And I think Rana, we appreciate all the amazing like information. I can tell you have a lot more to share on this one. We should have had
Thank you, everyone. Yeah, thank you, Catherine. Thank you, Rona.
Thank you, Rona. And such beautiful books, such great help to introduce major world events of exceptional people and so on, because it's hard to know where to start. So
I agree.
Right. Thank you so much. And from Amanda to Amanda.
Yay, Amanda.
Well, thank you so much, Amanda, for joining us and for really like bringing this book to life and helping us go back to this topic. And then the 20th anniversary is coming up. So just reminders of that as well, and you mentioned all the lives lost and like the healing that's still ongoing. It's 20 years gone, but not forgotten, as you've said. So definitely as that day comes, let us remember, and how can we help in our communities? How can we play a part in ensuring that, that healing continues, and that our little ones learn about these events in our country. Thank you so much for joining in, and thank you for a lovely book.
Thank you, Peter. Thank you, everybody.
All right. Oh, we were blessed today indeed to be joined by Amanda Davis, coming back to join us. Special guest coming back and telling us a little bit more about the book. I hope you enjoyed it wherever you are. I'm glad that you were able to be here and join in and enjoy it. And Rana, I think a big shout out to you. And for those that are wondering out there too, Rana with a great insight. That's Amanda's mom. Thank you for joining us today. Absolutely appreciate you and everyone out there. I really enjoyed learning about the book, and your input matters as well. I was glad to hear what you're thinking, what your thoughts are, how this book is impacting you right now, and to know that people like Henry are learning about this event for the first time, and they have a starting point from where to go. Thank you so much for joining in Storytime today, for joining in Storytime this week. I will be updating you. I'll be back next week, of course, but I'll be updating you as some changes will be coming. But be sure stories will be here at 11 a.m. Pacific time every day, and then lives may move around different times as I adjust to my new school calendar. But I will be keeping you informed on that. I'll definitely see you next week. So please do join me and look out for all the amazing stories that we'll be bringing to you. And remember that this book that we read today was read with permission of Worthy Kids, and it is written by the amazing Amanda Davis, who is here with us today, and of course Sally WERN COMPORT with the beautiful, beautiful art. Thank you so much for joining us, and everybody that was joining us. Vincent Kapotwe, all the way out in Lusaka, Zambia. Thank you for joining us. I hope the family is well. Thank you for joining in. Andres, have a wonderful weekend too. Thank you so much for joining in. Amanda Waltman, thank you for joining us. Baby Bia, Nate, good to see you back, my brother. Thank you so much for joining us. And Rana, thank you. Absolutely. I appreciate the pat on the back. Thank you so much. Story time is what it is because of you, because of books like this, because of creators like Amanda and everybody that joins in and makes this a fun experience and a learning experience for each and every one of us. Have a lovely weekend out there. Thank you so much. And Amanda Davis says, thank you, everyone. Lots of additional resources and activities on her website, amandadavisart.com. And I'll try and put that to end so that you have it and you can go to it and check out all the amazing stuff. If you're educators, if you're at home looking for activities to do with children, this is the website for you. Thank you so much for joining me today. This has been Story Time. This has been Story Time for this week. Have a great weekend, says Jen Vetta, and of course Amanda as well. Well, from me, much love as always. I love it. I hope you're able to be watching the sports that is going on right now. Exciting game with the women's soccer team yesterday. It was wonderful to watch. But I hope that you have a lovely weekend, a restful weekend, a loving weekend, a healing weekend. Thank you so much for being here on Storytime. Much love from me. I will see you again next week. Do join me with another great lineup. From me, much love. Bye-bye.
He will be starting soon. Story time with Mr. Limata, where all your dreams come true. Oh, he brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be hearing. Brings to life your favorite stories with a great big smile. You won't live lonely, won't you start all the reading? We just can't wait to be